the recent president Juvenile aliuawa 2021 kwa sababu from 2016 to 2021 term yake ilikuwa imeisha na alikataa kutoka. You would think that it is the gangs that killed him, but if you read many articles from Americans and many articles from those sides, you realize that the people who killed this president came from that country.
Okay.
And the conflict is between...
Now, yes, I want to ask a simple question. If at all tutenda huko, do you think there's a chance of success?
There is no chance. There is no chance because the solution to the problem of Haiti is not a gun. They're using the gun to fight with their president. You cannot use a gun to go and so you know what the solution to Haiti is, in my opinion. I have listened to many experts who understand the politics of Haiti.
Okay.
And what they are saying, and from the story I have given you, you know directly that the problem of Haiti is the United States. Because mahali United States imeingia, hakujawahi patikana peace. They are in Congo, there is no peace, and there will be no peace anytime soon. They are in Somalia. Don't expect peace there. Every other country wameingia kumekuwa chaos. So even in Haiti, they're still the problem. That is what the gangs are saying, and that is what
because America will never pull out.
Experts are saying.
What's the solution?
So the solution is if the president feels that he is a good friend of the United States because he has agreed to their call that he should lead the peace mission in Haiti. If he thinks that he is close to them and he's genuine, he wants to solve the problem of Haiti, then he should sit with Biden and tell him to stop this nonsense of being neo-colonizers, remove their armies from Haiti, so that the people of Haiti can be able to sit down and agree on what government is.
All right.
Vibes Radio. Morning Vibes, where you are the MVP.
Let me hear a drum play.
Rise and shine to positive vibes with the MVPs every morning.
And now for our feature presentation.
Can't anymore. 104.5 Vibes Radio. Happy Utamaduni Day. Listen, guys, to me a hashtag Morning Vibes across all socials. And let me know wagwan. You can also changia the conversations. Unaweza danda hii vibe tunaenda kukua nayo with our special guest in a bit using that hashtag. Pia, remember you can stream live www.vibesradio.co.ke. We're live on YouTube and Facebook. You're getting confused, but I always want to say we're live on X. You can't be live on X, bro. Sasa karibu sana. The time right now is 12 minutes after 7. And happy holidays to you out there. Ukiona story yote kwa barabara, you can let me know, although najua kuna traffic sana. But leo pia ni a different kind of day. Well, not so different. This is probably every other day of Kenyans. Mambo ya mental health. We go through so much as a country. Depression is mad out here. People can't deal yani mambo ya Kenya. You know, there's almost a sense of hopelessness yani. Wase yani, it's like we're just going through hii experience yetu. No one cares. At this point, watu wanaenda tu vile mekuja ndo tutasonga nayo. Yeah, so guess what? Today is World Mental Health Day. The overall objective of World Mental Health Day is to raise awareness of mental health issues around the world and to mobilize efforts in support of mental health. The day provides an opportunity for all stakeholders working on mental health issues to talk about their work and what more needs to be done to make mental health care a reality for people worldwide. Hata hapa hivi Kenya maze, I really believe if you're going through something maze, lazima uongee na guys. Yeah, just talk to someone because you never know. Unaweza saidiwa man. You can't be dying alone yani in silence. Karibu sana my brother.
Asante.
Maybe unaweza introduce yourself to our fans, MVPs. Alafu sasa ndo I also want to understand what mental health day, what it means to you. Kwa sababu I'm sure just like many other Kenyans, maisha ni ngumu, imetubit. Things are not easy.
Siku zuri.
Siku zuri. So introduce yourself, bro.
Siku zuri, bro. So my name is KEYM Explains. That's what I call myself on social media.
Yes.
But my real name's majina ya huduma namba.
Ya huduma namba.
Naitwa Wilson Kimani Nganga.
Nice one.
Maybe most of them labda wananijua through TikTok. That is where I'm most active.
Exactly.
Doing some political analysis here and there, kuangalia mambo hapa na pale. So that's where maybe wengi wananijua, and that's where I sana najulikana on TikTok.
That's where you usually are on a regular basis.
Yes.
Kimani speaks.
I'm KEYM Explains.
KEYM
I'm on other social media platforms like Facebook, najita Wilson Kimani Nganga, the profile one. Then kuna page ya KEYM Explains, and all the other platforms ni KEYM Explains.
Yeah,
but the most active ni TikTok.
TikTok, bro, kuna numbers. You know one thing I like about your content? Okay, sorry to compare you to someone, but you're similar to Gachagua. When I'm real. And mimi naona mali tumefika sasa, hakuna story ya sugarcoating hapa.
Absolutely.
Hapa tuwezi danganyana. If the situation is bad, if you have to critique a politician, if you have to propose certain ideas, hata kama ni radical ideas, itabidi buda. Especially for this generation, we have to look at things differently, Kim. Ama ni aje?
Kabisa.
Sasa Kim, historia
kweli kabisa. You see kwa mambo ya politics, when it comes to why I speak the way I speak, you know, I have a problem with most people who follow me because they followed me during the campaign period, where I looked like I was supporting. I'm saying I looked like because of something. Maybe I will explain later. But I looked like I was supporting the deputy president, then the hustler, William Samoei Ruto. So some people thought that I would fly with that plane even after election, that it was wrong for me. You know, in Kenya, Kenyan politics, watu ufikiria that just because you supported the government, it is wrong for you to say when the government is doing something wrong. Others think that when you say that the government is doing something wrong, then it means that you have shifted to the opposition. Unacheki. Lakini mimi niko na ile stand tu yangu ya kawaida if you go to my YouTube channel, I call myself KEYM Explains, and then there's a small statement there making simple sense. So I want to make that simple sense without being a sycophant to necessarily being a sycophant to one side, and I think that is what Kenya should be.
Unajua lazima tuzoe kucritique our leaders. Doesn't mean that now, even if you appreciate them, you're a sycophant.
Absolutely.
But I want you to just talk to me about him and World Mental Health Day, as much as also today is Utamaduni Day hapa hivi Kenya. When you look at the psychic, the mental health space of Kenyans in general as a country, unadhani, do you think we're suffering as a country? Yani, do you think Kenyans are so depressed? Unadhani watu wamejump sana, and this thing ikitu inaweza zidi sasa ifike hata unprecedented levels? Unadhani inaweza fika huko?
We are suffering, bro. Especially wale watu kama mimi, because I want to look at it in a political way. When we were doing campaigns, and when Ruto was campaigning for his position, one of the things that he had promised us is that he would make our lives better, especially the hustlers,
the young
because
Kenyans.
There was this perception that the hustler narrative was going to save or rather liberate the economy of Kenya from how it was and it is still being managed by few people who are wealthy, and most people, even if you are in a business, always you can make it juu kuna a lot of problems here and there, and so the hustlers walifikiria that atakuja na policies zenye zitakuja kusaidia watu, at least the cost of living iende chini. You remember tulikuwa na maandamano all over the country, the cost of living, tukiva masufuria and all those nonsense. Then but wakati aliingia, instead of having those policies zenye zinateremsha the cost of living and zinarudisha pesa kwa mfuko, the policies are taking money from the pocket ya mwananchi. Let me give you an example. And naguzia tu in less than a minute.
Haina shida.
Tulikuwa tunaongea kuhusu one of the things yenye ilifanya to rise against William Ruto at first was the finance bill, which is now the Finance Act. That finance bill, instead of kuteremusha the cost of living, giving an example, like some of the policies zenye zilikuwa hapo ama zenye zilikuja kutax kitu simple kama weave. Let me use that simple thing. Kutax kitu simple kama weave. I think that policy ilikuwa against the hustler nation spirit.
Yes.
Enye ilikuwa kwa campaign.
Yes.
Because the idea is kurudisha pesa kwa mfuko and how the common mwananchi ata benefit ni serikali itengeneze policies zenye zitafanya watu waweze kufanya biashara, because we cannot tegemea the hustler fund all the time. And even if it was Raila who was the president, atungetegemea ile 6,000 tulikuwa tunapewa kama maskini ati zile poor households. Atungetegemea. You would be more independent and you'd be more happier if the government would give you an opportunity and play the role that it should play of regulating and enabling the business environment so that you can be able to do business and get your daily bread.
Kweli.
But now alikuja ka tax ka vitu kama vitu kidogo. Abu imagine ukienda is it Umoja. There's a place there, kuna mama wengi sana huwa wanafanya kazi ya kusuka nywele.
Yes.
Once wameanza kutax kitu simple kama weave, do you expect their income to go down or to go up?
Go down.
Inateremka. So si pesa zinaongezeka kwa mfuko. So even the potential hustler mwenye alikuwa anataka kuingia kwa hiyo biashara, unashy off ama unaogopa kuingia kwa hiyo biashara, and that means you cannot be able to creating more businesses inakuwa ni ngumu sana. So jobs tunakosa.
Ni prezo alikuwa analenga outcry ya Kenya kwa sababu Kenyans were pissed, hata vile tulienda maandamano nini, but he still went ahead in the Finance Act kwa what it is. Is it a case of him ignoring the hostility kwa ground, ama ilibidi amefanya hiyo kitu yani? Ilibidi this Finance Act iende through because part of the argument was we can't continue borrowing. The president has to find money. He has to make money to deliver services.
But that doesn't mean that he's not borrowing. You cannot say that we can't continue borrowing. That is why you are taxing us. But instead unaendelea tu kuborrow. You see, the thing that tulibebo ufala, allow me to say that.
It's okay.
Tulibebo ufala juu, the government wants us to agree that it is not borrowing simply because we are reducing the amount of money that we are borrowing from outside.
Yes.
But when you come to our country, the government is still borrowing, and in fact, the way he is borrowing, even after including those taxes into our payrolls, in fact inakuja kutumiza hata zaidi kuliko vile kama angeomba nje ingetu affect hapa nchi. Because if you look at something like domestic borrowing, which watu wengi huwa waelewi, because the government borrows through bills and bonds. When you hear that the government has kuna treasury bills na kuna treasury bonds, then know that is the government borrowing from the economy. Now, making it simple, understand that we have very many graduates who are coming from out of our universities. So every year we have there's a time nilisikia Ruto akisema over 800,000 graduates are coming out of universities every year. How many jobs do we have? The idea is, if these people are educated, the perception is that I was going to be, if I went to Southeastern Kenya University, if by the time I was leaving, I had the expectation that I would get a job or start my own. Yes. What happens if I don't have a job and I don't have my own?
So you create your own job. Entrepreneur.
Of course, to create my own job. Exactly. Of course, nimetoka shule. Kama sijatoka kwa familia bora, I need to look for somewhere to get finances so that I can start a business idea, even if hata kama ni ya kuchoma mahindi.
Kweli.
But you see, when the government is borrowing from the local banks or from the domestic market, that is simply borrowing from the economy. Mimi nafaa kutoa loan wapi? Sinafaa kuingia kwa bank nipate ka loan at least juu mimi ni mtu nimetoka university, siwezi linganishwa na mtu wa class 8. Huyo anaweza choma mahindi na akuwe comfortable. Anaweza endesha baiskeli akinoa visu na akuwe comfortable. For me, nimetoka university bro. Kwa nini niende kazi ya mjengo when I have this idea yenye inaweza badilisha maisha ya Kenya na ibadilishe hata maisha ya youth wengi? Idea linafaa kuingia kwa bank, niende nikaombe loan. Lakini nikifika bank, tuseme niingie, what bank can I use as an example? Let me any bank of your choice. Niingie tu bank niombe loan. Lakini kwa line ya kuomba loan, there is me and there is now Ruto or the government, and it is not only Ruto, even Uhuru did that and Kibaki did that, kwa sababu borrowing si kitu, si ati imekuja na hustler government ama Ruto. They have been doing that. So nikiingia kwa bank, the bank iko na option ya kunikopeshea mimi ama ikopeshea serikali. I'm a fresh graduate. I don't have collateral. The government has everything it needs to repay the money, because the simple thing it will say, I will tax KEYM. I will tax Vibes Radio.
You don't have the privilege of saying that.
You know?
Exactly.
So the banks, to avoid me, so that it, you know, na unajua serikali bado hata interest inalipa na interest mzuri si kama mimi. So what the bank does, ina increase the interest rate so that nisiende kuomba loan.
Exactly.
Ama unasikia inahitaji collateral. Nimetoka shule natoa wapi collateral, bro?
So
mnanielewa.
So let me ask you something, Kim. So basically unatuambia gava imeffail when it promised Kenyans that wanaenda kutafuta solutions ya mambo ya unemployment nini for young Kenyans.
No, tumefail.
But other people are saying we should give the government time. They are in a complex situation. The economy, the world economy is bad. Kuna recession. So the only right thing to do, instead of us critiquing the government now, surely it's just been a little over here, let's talk about this ikifika hapo 3 years. You know, there are many politicians wamekuja hapa, hata MCS, even PSS. They're saying, guys, you're not being fair. You're not being fair. You gave Kibaki time. Why can't you give President Ruto time to also sort out this mess?
Let me ask you a simple question.
Yes.
Give President Ruto time. Time to do what?
Sort out this mess.
The idea is to have the cost of living down. That was the promise.
Yes.
Time to do what?
To sort out this mess. To sort out the economy.
How?
I mean, he has a plan.
Now, do you expect that... maybe he has a plan. But do you expect that once a tax becomes a law, there will be a time when the government will remove that tax?
Impossible.
Impossible. So if there will be no time that the government will reduce that tax, that means zile taxes umewekewa, for example, kwa your pay list, your pay slip, hazitawahi tolewa. So there is no way, as much as your salary itabaki hivyo vile iko, itabaki tu hivyo. Number 2, hizi taxes zimeongezwa kwa kila kitu, including mpaka fuel.
Manze.
Sawa? At such a time yenye tunaishi saa hizi, mpaka vitu kama fuel, kitu that is very important to run the economy, inaongezwa taxes. Now, that means the cost of commodities inapanda, your salary inaenda chini. Sawa? At what point or what formula is there to use that when your salary is going down and everything is going up, at one point Ruto ataleta a better life?
It's impossible.
I can only tell you one thing.
Yes.
I'm a sycophant of Ruto. That is what they call me. And I agree to call myself. In fact, sometimes I call myself Kagege.
Wow.
You know,
Kagege na manisha.
You know,
I don't understand.
Okay, Kagege is a Kikuyu term. It came during the campaign period.
Okay.
Ilitajwa na Lee Kenyanjui wakati tulichagua Kawajiko huko Kiambaa. But Kagege, watu wengi wao hawaelewi. Even some Kikuyus don't even understand. Kagege comes from a Kikuyu word.
Okay.
Called kogega.
Okay.
Kogega means kushanga. You know, ushaifanya kitu ukidhani mtu ukidhani results zinakaa design fulani, lakini zinakuja, unaona vile ulikuwa unafikiria the opposite.
Yes.
Like uniite hapa ukifikiria this guy, kwa sababu namuonanga TikTok akiongea, is very intelligent.
Kumbe.
So he can take my show and he can be able to represent these people. Na aseme zile vitu zina affect.
Exactly.
So lakini wakati nafika hapa unapata ni matope.
Sasa hiyo ndo Kagege.
Content huwa anaandikiwa.
But
kwa hiyo situation ya kushangaa inaitwa kogega na Kikuyu.
Okay.
The person mwenye amegega, you know, the act of kuenda kuiba ni tunasema mtu ameiba. Lakini mtu mwenye ameiba tunamuita mwizi. Now mwenye amegega anaitwa Kagege. I know they will disagree, but I tell you the truth. This is a Togege Republic. Na sisemangi ati mimi si mmoja, si ati na watusi ama naingia watu. This is a Togege Republic, because that is what we have found ourselves to be.
Unfortunately.
Ama nani hajashangaa na Ruto?
Okay, Sash,
are we not speaking about Haiti?
Yes. Kim, I want us to talk about your mambo ya Haiti. Now, if you look at we'll take a short break. Wacha tupitie magazeti. We'll take a short break. Alafu sasa we get into this conversation of Haiti. If you look at the front page of the Standard, they're saying Ruto takes over sale of state properties, role of parliament to oversight executive in jeopardy after the president assented to the privatization bill, which allows government to sell assets without probing from the legislature. Interestingly, it is parliament that debated and passed this law. Alafu pia naona hapa Nyanza Dream Team to deliver state pledges. Then another one when it comes to matters war, U.S. sends warships to Middle East. Kai, yeah. Down to prayers for last 8 in Rugby World Cup. We talked about that, guys. High Court puts brakes on Haiti mission. Oil prices rise after Hamas attack on Israel. Now, on the Daily Nation, halted. Kenya has won the backing of the U.S. and the United Nations to lead security intervention. Court puts brakes on Haiti police mission. Hitch. President William Ruto's plans to lead a multinational force in Haiti has hit a snag as High Court yesterday issued orders suspending deployment of Kenyan police officers to the strife-hit Caribbean nation. Third Way Alliance Party leader Ekuru Okot, who has gone to court to oppose the mission, says the constitution only allows police officers to operate within the country's borders. Historical kwa page 8. Now, 1,000. This is the number of Kenyan police officers that the country is planning to send on UN-backed mission to Caribbean nation. Sasa, we'll be talking about this when we come back in a bit. Guys, remember, we are hanging out with the one and only KEYM Explains. Is an activist, and we all love his content. Anabonganga fiti sana when it comes to matters politics and policy in our country. Haiti. The question here is very simple. Is Ruto a puppet to the United States? We'll be talking about that. Happy holidays, happy Utamaduni Day, and leo pia ni siku ingine different. Well, not different. It's an important day. Today is World Mental Health Day. It's 29 minutes after 7. Tunarudi in a bit. Keep it locked and don't move.
Morning Vibes, where you are the MVP. No negative vibes.
5 Vibes Radio, #Morning Vibes. Minute Kev Matara, your local energy provider. Today I'm on a solo mission. Actually, niko na yego. Tuko sawa because Kevo Badman couldn't make it. Amesema he's not feeling so well, so hopefully he's going to be back here tomorrow. Right now, nacheki, the time is 7:32. Happy holidays, happy Utamaduni Day. Guys, we're hanging out with the one and only KEYM Explains. KEYM is just the one. He's the one. Umse content yake kufiti. So if you want to catch up with KEYM, find him on KEYM Explains up on social media. He's an activist and pia producing content fiti, mostly about politics and policy. Today we're talking about him and Haiti. It's part of the stories. Alafu pia tutagusia Central Kenya politics. Yes, are things good in State House? Yes, the Kenya Kwanza camp. Yesterday kwa Daily Nation, front page walikuwa wameandika hapo hivyo, things fall apart. Are things really falling apart? We'll also touch on that. Right now it is 7:33. Karibu sana mazeko na to join. We are live on www.vibesradio.co.ke as well as on Facebook and YouTube. So ingia hapo at vibesradio.ke, ndo even tunaweza patana. And please, you have to use that hashtag. Kwa unataka nisome comment yako, if I have to see it, lazima uitumie #morningvibes. Now, KEYM.
Yes.
Front page Daily Nation. Court puts brakes on Haiti police mission. Yes. So, well, Prezo alikuwa commit. He said these things are underway, but we also saw Kindiki akisema, when I say he had committed, alikuwa amesema he promised the United Nations and Americans ataenda kupeleka watu wetu, our police officers to Haiti, right?
Yes.
To the Caribbeans. Now, the courts have done their thing, although let's call a spade a spade. Bado guys wataenda. Kenya Kwanza, it almost feels as if they get what they want. Unajua, ama? Okay. What do you think is going to happen now that the court have wamehoti process?
You see, I feel, in my personal opinion, we are having the wrong conversation. Because I'm wondering how comes Ruto, who is the person who is supposed to understand the people of Haiti, how comes he's the one who is now collaborating with the oppressors? Because you see, there's a video I did and I asked, I captioned, why is Ruto fighting with his fellow hustler in Haiti? Because as much as we are speaking about Haiti and our police, one, I am happy that the courts have overturned that will, and now probably they will not go if we are an obedient country, but because we are in a
exactly,
you know how the government of Kenya or African governments behave. Sometimes these court cases, court is not.
What if Parliament approves this thing?
Okay, in my opinion, I don't think it is important for us to take our police there. Not because I don't believe that they have the capacity to bring peace there. They are trained. They're trained, and whatever training they have, I don't know the difference with those who have been there perennially, like the Americans, and the big powers. They have not been able to bring peace there, but all of a sudden our president thinks that we are enough. We can lead this and have it done. But anyway, you see, as much as watu wanaongea mambo ya Haiti, si wengi wanaelewa the history yenye imefanya Haiti kuwe mahali iko sahi.
Let's talk about
because if you Google the word Haiti, what you will find is that there is mass massacre there, or there is rape, or gangs, but the history behind those gangs being in place,
yes,
people are avoiding it. I like a guy called Ekuru Okot because he has appeared in several interviews and he has said what my ears want to hear. Because if I give you in 5 minutes, if you allow me,
it's fine. Yeah,
a small history of Haiti and who has made Haiti to be the way it is today.
Yes.
And what is the solution to their war, in my opinion.
Okay.
You see, the Haiti, if you look at the distance between Haiti from Kenya and the distance from Haiti to America, utashangaa kwa nini Kenya tunajitoa kwenda kutafuta peace mahali neighbor ameshindwa kutafuta. What is this skill that we have? One would think that just because it is next to America, then it is a country of the white people. But then you read the history and you listen to them and watch the videos, the Haiti, and realize it is actually a black nation.
Yeah.
Okay? So how did it come to be a black nation? These are slaves that were taken from Africa, wakapelekwa to that country as slaves. So si ati ni kwao ati from the beginning. Ni vile tu nasikianga stories ati sijui Bantus walitoka wapi wakajipata wapi, wengine wakatoka wapi wakajipata wapi. So the people of Haiti found themselves in Haiti as slaves. So they were to go there as slaves. Sawa? Ushike hivyo na usisahau everyone mwenye anatusikiza. At around 1791 to 1804, that is when Haiti became independent. Now the slaves were tired of being slaves. Na wakapigana na their colonizer, now the French. Wakapata independence. However, the French na ile maringo yake, you realize there are a lot of revolutions happening in Africa, mostly parts of West Africa, na zote zinaenda against French. So when you hear that a country was colonized by French, you know that watu walikuwa wameona yenye hawajaiona. I think they were very ruthless.
Yes.
So when they got independence, the France walikasirika. Now the French, they were forced to pay something we call reparation. You know what reparation is in simple term? Umenikosea, so you need to compensate me. So these slaves wamekosea their colonizer, and now they are told that they need to compensate their colonizer. Na unajua wange kata, because remember hata ukisahau kitu ingine, these colonizers wako na weapons, wako na guns, lakini wao wanapigana na
it's a weird agreement.
Unaona? It's a weird situation. So wow, because they did not have an option, they had to pay. You know what? Between that year that they got independence in 1804 to 1911, they survived on debts, because Eden yenye wanalipa ujue si kitu walinunua. Wanalipa, in fact wananunua maisha yao. They are buying their independence. Because why they had to do that is because people like United States of America together with France refused to recognize that Haiti as a country,
as a sovereign state.
Okay? So they did not have even the bargaining power. They could not transact with any other government or a country. So they refused to recognize that, and so the Haitians had to agree with whatever the French were saying, as long as they get this independence. You know? Now, of course that ikaharibu economy ya Haiti, na ikakuwa umaskini iko juu. You know, watu wakifinywa sana, of course huwa ina trigger again mass outcry. Watu wanalia. Sisi hii tunalia kwa sababu bei ya mafuta imepanda, kwa sababu bei ya kila kitu inapanda. So tunalia apathy, because tunafinywa na our fellow black man, our fellow president who should understand us. Now imagine for them, by 1911, I was reading from...
That's 100 years basically.
Yes. By 1911, every $3 that the economy of Haiti made, $2.53 went to paying debts to the French.
All those years.
You see? So there is a story there until around 1904 when United States invaded the Haiti in disguise of bringing peace na kuwasaidia kusettle these problems zenye wamekuwa nazo za mzozano kati ya the people and the French because the people are still crying kwa sababu of course maisha ni ngumu. You see, I have used the word disguise deliberately because when the United States came, they did not come to solve a problem, but rather they came to be the new colonizers.
The new colonizers.
Neo-colonization. They came to do that because nimekuambia every $3 they are making, $2.53 was going to
pay those debts
to France banks to pay the debts zenye walikuwa zenye waliwekelewa kwa sababu ya kupata independence. Yani walikuwa nanunua independence. So what the Americans did, I want to rush this
because I can see we're running out of time.
Simple. What the US did, wakati ilikuja ilichukua banks na ikachukua the national treasury ya huko. So once the banks zimeenda na national treasury imeenda, money is being managed by a foreigner. Are you independent?
No, of course not.
No. Fast forward, walitoka 1934 lakini US wakitoka 1934 the invasion ikiisha si ati walitoka kabisa, waliendelea kuweka their puppets. One you would remember is in 1957 when a US sponsored dictator alikuwa anaitwa Duvalier aliingia na kwa sababu uko nyuma story yenye sijakupatia in every 4 years kulikuwa na president alikuwa anatolewa ama anauawa. By now si unajua wameua 5 presidents.
So they impose a president and then
they impose their own. So unaona hawajatoka. So Duvalier kwa sababu alikuwa anaogopa zile
assassinations or what?
The assassinations the presidents na vile kulikuwa na coups kuondolewa, he created the gangs. Remember today the conflict is between the gangs and the non-existent government that is in Haiti because they killed their president. Okay? After that president Duvalier aliingia in power. Ali create the gangs kwa sababu the military obviously ndio ilikuwa ina manage hizi coups. Kwa sababu anaogopa ku overthrowiwa, aka create his own gangs. Aka create by 1959 alikuwa na a bigger paramilitary group bigger than the army ya Haiti.
Damn. But, I want to fast forward this thing to this era now we're in. Clearly Steto wamekuwa hapo hivyo trying to push their own agenda. We know that. They also had their own military presence hapo hivyo. Turns out hawako manage to stabilize the situation. Right now Wakenya wanasema how is it possible that the United States through the UN wanakuja hapo hivyo wanauliza our president that apeleke military, our police officers there. And yet America in itself wali fail when it came to that mission of stabilizing the country. Is our president a puppet? I mean, what is it? What is in for Kenya? What interests are we trying to achieve to Kenya huko?
Of course he's a puppet.
Yes.
And that is my opinion because and I don't expect, unajua watu wakitaja puppet wanafikirianga mtu anatukanwa. But a puppet is simple. Si kutukanwa. A puppet ushaiona mtu akiwa na kidoli ameweka mkono hapo ndani. So si kiko na mdomo sasa mkono inaenda akifanya hivi kinaongea sasa lakini maneno ni yake anaongea. So hiyo kidoli si doli inaongea. Kuna mtu inaongea on behalf of mwenye amejificha sasa anawa entertain na gani. Na hii you see history ya nini ikishia kwa Duvalier. Let's fast forward to 1990 when Duvalier and his son walimaliza kurule and those people wa Haiti wakakuwa na their own president. The people's choice. 1 year later alikuwa overthrown. Okay? After he was overthrown, he blamed the US government of the coup.
Oh, interesting. What?
Sawa? Fast forward. In 2000 what years later, let's fast forward to 2016. The most recent president to be killed, he was killed from his house or he was murdered from his house. Alikuwa ameingia 2016 and he was sponsored by the same United States. Remember ndio ilikuwa imesponsor Duvalier the dictator and now sasa imesponsor the most recent president Juvenile. Aliuawa 2021 kwa sababu from 2016 to 2021 term yake ilikuwa imeisha na alikataa kutoka. you would think that it is the gangs that killed him. But if you read many articles from Americans and many articles from those sides, you realize that the people who killed this president came from that country.
Okay.
And the conflict is between...
Now, yes, I want to ask a simple question. If I told to tenda huko, do you think there's a chance of success?
There is no chance. There is no chance because the solution to the problem of Haiti is not a gun. They're using the gun to fight with their president. You cannot use a gun to go and so you know what the solution to Haiti is, in my opinion. I have listened to many experts who understand the politics of Haiti.
Okay.
And what they are saying, and from the story I have given you, you know directly that the problem of Haiti is the United States. Kwa sababu mahali United States imeingia, hakujawahi patikana peace. They are in Congo, there is no peace, and there will be no peace anytime soon. They are in Somalia. Don't expect peace there. Every other country yenye wameingia kumekuwa chaos. So even in Haiti, they are still the problem. That is what the gangs are saying, and that is what
because America will never pull out.
Experts are saying.
What's the solution?
So the solution is if the president feels that he is a good friend of the United States because he has agreed to their call that he should lead the peace mission in Haiti. If he thinks that he is close to them and he's genuine, he wants to solve the problem of Haiti, then he should sit with Biden and tell him to stop this nonsense of being neo-colonizers, remove their armies from Haiti, so that the people of Haiti can be able to sit down and agree on what government.
All right, shikilia hapo. KEYM explains. I want us to take a short break, but before that, I want to ask simple question. Tuliona pia watu wazimia. We know very well that there's been a bit of clashes. They seem like tribal clashes in the border of Sondo and Kisumu. Na tuliona watu wazimia wakisema, listen, this idea of taking our police officers to Haiti is uncalled for at a time when kuna mashida mingi hapa Kenya. Instead of sending them there, mwalete hapa hivi waende Transmara, waende huko Lamu, all these places where we are seeing a bit of chaos. Do they have a point?
You know, sijui kama ni mimi nakuanga mtriki kuelewa ama nakuanga mgumu ama ni vile wa Kenya tunakuanga tokege vile nasema. But I have a different understanding of the problem in Sondu, which is similar to the problem is in Haiti. In fact, it's like a copy and paste. The solution is the same.
Yes.
Anyway, we shall
in fact, Boni Alwale was saying some of these things are just politically instigated. Nyama leaders wako kwa ground.
Absolutely.
But why can't we ever sort out easy issues? If at all tunajua ni politicians ndo wanafanya hii violence, you know, why can't we just bring them to book? We'll be talking about that, guys. We're hanging out with KEYM Explains. KEYM is an activist, big time as a content creator hapo hivyo kwa TikTok and Facebook as well as on YouTube. Tunarudi na calls 0719012700. What is your reaction to some of the stories tumepitia? And of course pia as a front page nimewambia nini na happen kwa Daily Nation. Court puts brakes on Haiti police mission. And then on the Standard, Ruto takes over sales of state properties. When we come back, we'll talk about him and an escalation ya vita huko hivyo. There's a bit of chaos in happen huko hivyo Sondu, that is the Kericho Kisumu border. And also we'll talk about a divided Kenya Kwanza. Is that likely? They're talking about things falling apart kwa serikali. Is that true? We'll talk about that. Shikilia, twende kazi.
This is the Modern Vibes on Vibes Radio.
Romain Vago. Hatuna pesa hii Kenya siku hizi. You know these days Kim, mtu yote naongea naye anasema Kevin, I'm broke. Sina kitu.
Siku zuri.
Yaani watu wana save pesa, companies are not even I don't know. Companies are dismissing, guys. Ni noma. 0719012700. Guys, we're hanging out with KEYM Explains. Tupigie simu manze, phone lines ziko open. Tungependa kujua nini na happen kwa ground. Stories zote zinatachisha. You can also react to our stories hapa hivi kwa magazeti. Phone lines are open, guys. Tuanze hapa hivi na Jose China. Good morning, Jose.
Good morning.
Karibu sana bro. Unasemaje maze? Conversation yako ni gani kwa MVP report?
Maze, conversation yangu maze nasema maze, ni noma bana.
Umesema vitu ni noma kwa ground?
Vitu ni noma maze. Sasa makara kama vitu ni noma huko kwa ground. Sasa hiyo ni kama setup. Mbona tutumwe huko tukapigane na watu.
Lakini si umecheki sasa koti the courts wamesema ati hapana, shikilia kwanza tusitume hawa watu huko hivyo. Wamesema this is not lawful. Haiko kwa constitution, hatuwezi tuma makara wetu na governor, constitution inasema wanafaa kubaki mtaani. Hapa nyumbani wasitoke.
Ukitoke bana, hiyo ifai yani. Hiyo ni kama anatumiwa bana.
Umesema ni kama tunawa set up. So swali lilikuwa nimeuliza watu earlier ni unadhani Ruto ni puppet? Huyu ni kama anafanyia tu serikali ya United States na the UN kazi. Is he a puppet?
Is that perfect?
Yeah, okay. Asante sana. Let's talk to CEO. Maduya, CEO ni aje?
Poa sana.
Karibu sana bro, tupate report.
Ni kwa ground mambo yanakitemuka tu.
Mambo imechamuka kwa ground eh?
Ni kunhari, ni kunoma.
Ni kunoma. Na sasa unadhani mambo itakuwa fiti huko mbele? Wamesema tupate serikali time.
Mimi naona ikiharibika kabisa, kuna haribika zaidi.
Wow, alright. Sawa, asante sana CEO. CEO amesema things are so bad. Hapa naona amesema things are looking bad for the future. Hazitakuwa poa. Alulu Range Jogo, good morning.
Good morning.
Karibu sana bro. Happy Utamaduni Day.
Happy Utamaduni Day kila mtu.
Nice one. Hapa hivi tuko na KEYM Explains. KEYM ana producing content ya politics on TikTok na YouTube. Umesikia hiyo conversation? Tumeongea mambo ya Haiti.
KEYM ni mtu. Unajua mimi nampenda juu ya nini? These guys yani huyu jamani mtu unaona. Na ni realistic. Alafu ni mtu tena lazima akikwambia kitu atakwambia about his story. But mimi sitaki kureact na mambo na siji Kenya kwanza or what.
Yes.
Jana wacha niongelee kitu positive. Jana tulikuwa pale Ololua Forest.
Okay, nice
Tulikuwa na hii dialogue session on Ngong River. Ecosystem na restoration unaona manze.
Nice.
As far as tunaongelea mambo na utamaduni man, river zetu ziko mbaya unaona. So ilikuwa tu dialogue, tulikuwa tumepartner na magroup mingi, ilikuwa organized na Ruaraka Eco Friendly Association, hii inaitwanga REFA. Wanadili na mambo na mazingira, river restoration. So the main theme ilikuwa how can we restore our rivers back to its normal unaona. Juu imekuwa challenge sana, utapata nowadays river man. Mimi nakumbuka nikigrow hii Ngong River ilikuwa maji safi. But nowadays so hii ndio kitu tulikuwa tuna dialogue, tunajiuliza what went wrong? Nini hatufanyi correct? Nini imekosea unaona?
So
as far as tunasema
na resolution sasa zilikuwaje? How can we actually revive hizi marive manze? For example,
hizi sasa hii ni kitu ina take time juu inahitaji partnership ya kila mtu unaona. Ni inclusivity ya kila mtu, lazima make effort to make sure rivers zetu zimecome back to normal unaona. Mbona nasema hivyo? Sisi wenyewe ndio tunatumia vitu zenye tuna deposit, vitu zenye tunatupa takataka. So at early age kama tunaweza zimanage hapa kwa level yenye tunakaa, tuelewe hii kitu iko na mafaa gani ikifika river. At that tunaweza control, but tumepata ni challenge, but tunaimizisha tuma vijana wote. Vijana kwanza ninapenda vijana wa Kibira, vijana wa Ruai manze, vijana wa Ngong, ni vijana wa positive, wana reason kuhusu mambo na restoration of river. So na encourage tuma vijana tukue na positive mind on how we can restore mambo na river zikam back to normal na kila kitu itakuwa fiti. Hawa vipi watu wangu manze?
Hiyo positivity ya Lulu, I love it. Asante manze, big up.
Alafu Jojo, ikiwezekana kuna msanii fulani anaitwa Chokman Dada na Sankara Madeva. Fanya mambo, nataka Chokman Dada wa Kampala. Ni majamaa tu.
Chokman ni boy wangu manze, ni chali wangu, si ndio?
Tulikuwa na yeye kwanza, yeye ndio ambassador manze. Fanya mambo man, Chokman akam kwa studio.
Asante sana, big up yourself Alulu Range Jogo. Positivity ya ukweli. So guys, let's wrap up hiki kitu manze with a bang up hivi. Ini code 111 Chokman Dada. Tukirudi maze, tunaenda ku wrap up hii conversation. Remember guys, we have KEYM Explains. KEYM is going to give us his closing remarks right after the news. Keep it locked here. Happy holidays. Loni Utamaduni Day. Good morning. Tuende kazi guys. Shikilia hapo, don't move.
This is the Modern Vibes on Vibes Radio.
At that JBKE, and we're here about to wrap up conversation. But ingia hapo kwa socials. Let's talk maze. Today is a chill Tuesday morning. Right now na chekini 30 minutes after 8. Kajua kametoka kana feel fiti. These are those days where you just have to go for like a nature walk, for hiking, when the road trip to solo. Hata usiane na mbogi. Just go and remember who you are. Najua sounds strange, but this is the time when you're supposed to go and reflect, guys. I keep on telling you, reflection ni muhimu. You cannot be productive all the days of your life. Wezi semati from January to December, Buddha, uko 100. Nah, sometimes you need to just take a step back, relax. Unasema, okay, fine, today is today is Utamaduni Day, World Mental Health Day. What does it mean to you? Seriously, especially as a Kenyan, now that we're celebrating World Mental Health Day, Pia. Yeah? You know, I was even talking here to Kim Explains how ukiangalia the psyche of the country. Ni kama, you know, it's like we're a family, so probably you're thinking the same thoughts as I am. Na mimi kitu nimenotice ni tuko down. Guys are depressed. Guys are not happy.
Sana, tuko down
sana. Wase yani tuko autopilot. It's like we're just moving around. Bora tu yani bora umeamka na bora umelala. No one cares really. People are not making plans, a lot of plans for the future. Sasa mimi nashangaa tulifika aje hapa, and what's the way forward? How can we get out of here as a people? You know what I mean? But take it easy. Reflection ni muhimu sana. Yeah, now that we're in the final quarter of the year, maintain goals zako. Have you been consistent? Ama you want to start afresh? Maybe re-strategize. Let's talk about that. I want to play for you, Kim, a clip here by our president and his deputy Gachagua. But before that, kabla tu ingie kwa maneno ya news, I asked you a simple question with regards to the Sondu conflicts at the border of Kisumu and Kericho, where we saw even the Kakamega senator alikuwa anasema some of these things ni kwa sababu ya revenue collection, boundaries are not clearly defined, some of these county boundaries, and also he also mentioned something like hizi mavitu zina happening, hizi cross-border conflicts when it comes to our counties, mostly zinakwanga politically instigated by our leaders, our politicians.
Which I absolutely agree.
Even me,
I agree with him absolutely. 2 years ago, kuna wakati Aaron Cheruyot, who is the current Senate majority leader, alisema kwamba shida hata yeye mwenyewe anajua during that time alikuwa anajua shida ni politicians, kwa sababu shida yenye iko ni county government ya Kisumu na ya Kericho inapigania Sondu, wanapigania nani anafaa ku collect taxes.
Ni revenue. Okay? Yeah.
So absolutely the politicians have something to do with the war, kwa sababu mimi kama Kim as a resident of Sondu, after nimefanya job yangu, the only thing I can do is to pay taxes for me to be in the good side of the law. After paying taxes, it should not be my responsibility to decide which county government will go with what or which county will take my taxes. Yangu ni kulipa taxes. Na ile kitu inanishangaza ukiona sometimes huwa nashangaa Wakenya tunakuanga aje. Nyewe tunakuanga nasemanga tunakuanga na ujinga juu. Yani watu wenye wako Sondu wakipigana, wanapigana not because ati Mkale amechukua shamba ya Mjaluo ama mtu amechukua biashara ya wenyewe, but because there is this dispute of who should take the tax. Imagine tunapigana na wewe, mimi nasema huyu anafaa kuchukua, au unasema huyu ndiye anafaa kuchukua. Tunapigana ndo tupeane taxes. After all, if that tax is 10%, does it really matter who takes? Does it change whatever that will be deducted from my pocket?
It doesn't change. So
why must we fight?
So what's the way forward for these two counties?
The way
How
forward
can they
again
sort
is
out
the same solution. The same solution that Haiti needs. The wrong person should be removed.
Wow.
Because the wrong person, the root cause, if you want to solve a problem, look at the root cause. If you listen to Haiti, they are saying the root cause is we are fighting because the Americans are here. Wao ndio wanatuchochea because they have their own interest, and you know that. Now the cause of this is because the county governments cannot agree who should take what and what. The president is a good friend of the senator and the governor of Kericho County. Our very respected former Prime Minister Raila Odinga is a good friend to the governor and the senator of Kisumu. If they really want peace in that place, though I doubt that they want peace, because politicians thrive in war. The same way Americans are thriving in wars in whatever country that they think can be ahead of them in terms of economy. That's why they are not willing to go away from Congo, the Haitis. You know, Haiti was at one point the biggest exporter of coffee and sugar. So they don't want them to grow. So they thrive in those chaos wakati tunapigana. If they really want to solve this problem, why don't they sit down with these people who are causing the conflict, the politicians, just have a conversation like the one we are having here.
Exactly, over a cup of tea.
Hata ukienda kwa Google Maps, ukigugu Kericho County ama Kisumu County, uzoom itakuonyesha boundaries. Ni nini hii kubwa yenye wanapigania? Ni kitu yenye wanaweza keti na wadecide. Hata bila kutumia judges, watumie Google Maps.
So moving on. moving on. KEYM explains, jana kwa The Nation, Daily Nation, headline ilikuwa things falling apart. Now, this is the situation between the president and his deputy Rigathi Gachagua. Now, the situation hapa hivi kwa sababu wanasema it's like the reading from a different script where Rigathi alikuwa anasema that Kenya Kwanza will sort out its shareholders. Priority hapa ni shareholders. Majority of people from Rift Valley and Central. Na watu walikampenia the government, right? The president in Nyanza, he made it very clear. And some people actually interpret wakisema it is a response to the deputy president. He said, listen, the government is here for all Kenyans. Development matters, mambo ya resources itakuwa equally distributed. My question is, simply because it seems like these guys are talking from different scripts. Are things falling apart in State House? In this Kenya Kwanza government?
I think they maybe they are, maybe they are not. But one of the things zenye inafanyanga Rigathi Gachagua hata kama hauagree na politics zake, one of the things inafanyanga Rigathi Gachagua pende is because huwa afungi vitu kwa akili.
Useme apendwe.
Huwa yes. I mean kupenda mtu si lazima uamini na nini yake. Yani unapenda tu kumsikiza usikie tu vile atasema juu. Anaweza sema neno tu ujue kasiri fulani ama ujue kitu yenye hauko unajua. So Rigathi Gachagua does not know how to suffer from the inside. Anakanga itoe tuongelee, wacha moto wake tutazima. You see?
I like that.
Okay. The issue of shareholding. One thing I know is that Rigathi Gachagua does not mean that Kenya is a company as people are understanding.
So what does it mean? What does it mean?
In my understanding, and anybody who wants to understand him will understand. It simply means that the president wakati walikuwa wanapigania this presidency, the campaigns, walikuwa wanacompete wakiwa watu wawili. They had two economic agendas which are different. One alikuwa na trickle down, mwingine yako na bottom up. Once he takes the power, there are people who believed in the bottom up, there are people who believed in trickle down. Now that he is leading a bottom up in this guys, hiyo ni uongo, hakuna bottom up inapelekwa na Ruto. Lakini assuming that he was following the promise,
yes,
this bottom up si kuna wenye wameiamini na kuna wenye walikuwa wameamini ile ingine. Once he gets to power, why should he give positions of power to people who believed in trickle down? Why should he? They don't at first they did not believe in his dream.
Those are people from a different ideology.
That is what he means. But anyway, there is an important statement that Gathoni wa Mushomba, the MP for...
Now, before you tell me that statement, I know kuna watu to join sahi. Just to clarify, have a listen to what the president and his deputy walisema.
Okay.
Sisi lazima tungeangalia nyinyi. Hii serikali ni kampuni na ni ya shares. Si ndio? Ni ya shares. Kuna wenye kampuni, wale wako na shares mingi, kuna wale wako na chache, kuna wale hawana. Sasa nyinyi muli-invest kwa hii kampuni ya William Ruto na Rigathi Gachagua.
It is primitive and backwards for anybody to imagine that any region of Kenya cannot get development on account of how they voted. That is not right. That is not correct. And I want to assure the people of Kenya that we are going to move together as one nation.
There will be no division in this government. President William Ruto and I talk the same language. We consult, we agree, and we move on. And the president is taking us to the right place. What we are doing and what I'll continue to do is uniting the backyard of President William Ruto in the Mount Kenya region and the Rift Valley.
All right, karibu sana guys if you're joining us. Back to this quote by Gathoni. Now, what did Gathoni say? Gathoni wa Mushomba.
Kwanza hiyo statement umecheza. You know those people are saying the same thing. Now, despite the fact that mnasema ati Ruto wanaongea different scripts. It's different. Kabisa but it's almost the same. Wacheni kusema ati Gachagua ati sijui Ruto anasema opposite na Gachagua. Listen to Ruto vizuri sana. Amesema mtu asiambie watu wa Nyanza ama those who did not elect Ruto that they will not get development. Gachagua alisema the positions of power. utapata development ndio, lakini mwenye ako in power na mwenye anapewa position ya kufanya hiyo
ni different,
si wenu.
So script ni ile development mutapata but positions of power itaendea shareholders. I like that, bro. You're such a smart guy. Explain fiti. but I want to understand.
So I was telling you about this Gathoni wa Mushomba vile alikuwa anasema about this division that seems to be there. Gathoni wa Mushomba, you remember she was in the past parliament ile ya Jubilee na bado wako kwa hii. You remember the handshake. Gathoni wa Mushomba aliappear in one of the TV stations, local TV stations, and she said in Kikuyu, if you go to my TikTok utapata hiyo clip. It is the last video nilieka. Alisema Gathoni wa Mushomba that she sat in that parliament. Na when the handshake was coming, walikuwa wanaongea na Uhuru. Lakini Uhuru alikuwa anawaambia wachana na Raila, hakuna kitu kubwa tunafanya, hakuna mahali anaelekea. All this is just to manage Raila. So she is the same person mwenye anasema saa hii the National Dialogue Committee yenye inajaribu kuleta peace kati ya the government and the opposition.
We just say handshake.
The Kikuyus are being told, or the Mount Kenya region is being told, msishinde mkipresent mambo yenyu hapa. Hii ni ya kutupisha Raila mbao.
Really?
And
does she have a point?
She has a point. Of course, if you ask me, Uhuru never wanted Raila as a president. It was just a con game.
It was a long con.
In fact, my content over that year, ya campaign 2022, 100% of my content was about how Uhuru was conning Raila. Nikaignoriwa. After election, Babu Owino repeated my words one by one.
It was a long con.
Okay, it was really a long con. And the long con is still on.
Bro, you know,
we have just got into it kwa sababu Gathoni alisema that the fact that they are being told that ini ya kutupisha Raila mbao, she knows that is just the resources tunaharibu huko.
So let us assume, I want us to reason from the other side. Let's assume that the president and his deputy was speaking from different scripts.
Okay.
You know, like many other Kenyans are thinking. Hata watu wa media. So mwona di imeandikwa hapo kwa magazeti. So is it high time, if at all there's a bit of cracks kwa serikali, is it high time that the president reaches out to Raila Odinga, wakae chini pamoja, watafute solid long-term solutions for the stability, for the sake of this country? Is this the perfect time for the president to work with Raila?
First of all, we don't have a problem. As Kenyans, we don't have a problem that they purport to do. To say that we have. Because what is making them to sit there is their own interests. Kisikiza wale watu wanaenda kupresent huko, kila mtu anavuta side yake, mwingine anavuta side yake. But the real issues zenye zina affect mwananchi wa kawaida hawaziangali. Not in that dialogue and not in the government. Not even when Gachagua is speaking about sijui Mount Kenya and shareholding. You know, we have been made as Mount Kenya, or as the people of Kenya, to think or to have this perception that only when a person from your tribe amechaguliwa in a certain position, that position is for the tribe.
Impossible.
Swali, mimi ni Kikuyu from Mount Kenya. Gachagua is the deputy president from Mount Kenya. Does that naeza kosa kulala njaa juu yeye ni deputy president? Can I go to a supermarket, tell them I am a Kikuyu, I'm a shareholder, give me sugar at a discount? No. So that tells you hii position ya power si ya community. Ya mtu na bibi yake, kwa sababu hata mama yake na brothers zake na watu wao kupata ama kusaidika na hiyo pesa yake itakuwa ni bahati. There are many politicians who ambao ni matajiri tunajua, but watu wao
they're languishing in poverty.
Hiyo ni shida. So I'm telling you, they are not facing the real problems zenye sisi tunataka wa solve. Because even if they were to sit there and create a position ya opposition, do whatever they are doing without solving the problems zenye zina face the economy ya Kenya na youths wa leo, we will not have a solution. Because they are solving their personal interests in na wanaacha zile zenye zinaweza to affect, which I would like you to give me just a show at one time to ongele what I think is the solution to the problem of Kenyans, because we are fighting for economic freedom. The same way Haiti is fighting for economic freedom.
Are we in an economic crisis or a political crisis?
It's an economic.
What comes first?
The political crisis is not for Kenyans. It is for the politicians, and they are the ones who are supposed to solve.
But it has but it affects Kenyans.
You know, hata tuki disagree ama to agree in platforms za politics, one thing will unite us. Economy.
economy.
When the
Unga.
economy is well run, atikwe niko na urahisi wa kuweka pesa kwa mfuko. I don't have a problem who is the president, who is not, how much tax they are taking, as long as I can afford
so
that.
Really it's the
That's
economy.
why mimi nikiwa maskini kutoka Kayole ama Kariobangi, naenda kwa hoteli napata chai ya maziwa na maji at 10 bob. Wao unaenda hoteli kubwa iko hapa Mombasa Road, sitaki kutaja wasiseme na nini, unauziwa chai the same tea, milk and nini, unauziwa 300.
No matter
the difference between 310. Now complain is expensive because you can be able. So what I think there are 3 things that these governments needs to look at. One, stop domestic borrowing, stop competing with Kenyans in getting loans from the local market. Enda utafute huko, tutajua vile tutalipa, lakini mimi nikuwe na nguvu. Number 2, stop capital flight. Wanaiba pesa wanapeleka nje, kwa sababu wakiiba tukiambiwa 2 billion inaibiwa kila siku. We cannot see it being replicated in the economy. We cannot see that money. And lastly, stop government competition with Kenyans.
Wow, haya sawa. As we wrap up this conversation, lazima nigusie Mount Kenya politics. In which situation right now, my brother Kim explains, which situation does Mount Kenya find itself in the sense that Awana a solid party, Jubilee is non-functional squeezy, and we don't feel them on the ground. It's almost as if they have no leadership, no representation, they have no one voice. What does the future of Mount Kenya look like? Especially heading towards 2027 and 2032.
It will take us very many years to get back to the presidency if that is important. But to me, it is not important because what is happening, if I can be honest, is the divide and rule concept is now on its play in Mount Kenya. We have so many parties which no party is okay with the other party. No party is at peace with any other. We are not in position to create our strong party because we don't have that figure ya unite Mount Kenya. You cannot say that our leader today is President Uhuru Kenyatta because he is not active in politics. You cannot say it is Gachagua because Gachagua hata akiongea, everybody is taking him as a joke.
Kim. So you're saying the leader cannot be Uhuru, fair enough.
Of course.
But what about the attempts by the deputy president to reach out to Uhuru Kenyatta anataka consolidate, maybe unite Mount Kenya? Is this a possibility? Maybe he is actually the kingpin. Yendo sasa ata lead Mount Kenya now post 2032. Maybe I don't know how you're looking at this.
It can only be a possibility if what Kadhoni wa Mushomba is what said is what is happening. If it is the con in place, because I don't think there is a big conflict between the two individuals or between Uhuru and Ruto. Not for now. Even in the past, a president with the nini, unajua president akiapishwa si anaapishwa na constitution na anapewa sword. Hiyo sword haikuangi ya kukata nyama. Ni ya kukata watu wakati amekasirika. Na kukata sheria. You know, anatumia hiyo nini kufanyisha sheria kazi. You know, if the president thinks that another person with all that power is at the wrong side of the law, he can be able to use his powers, use the constitution to try and solve the problem. But we see no attempts apart from blame games. Sasa when it comes to Mount Kenya, I don't think your problem, I'm one who reads from the same script with Kadhoni wa Mushomba, though I don't know whether she is genuine or ama anapiga ni politics zake tu. You know me, I'm not a politician, so I don't have a reason to take side ni kuplease ama nikose kukuplease. I don't have a reason. Na mtu akinisikiza alafu akasirike na maoni yangu, I simply don't have that control because if I wanted to be an MP ama political party, ningekufurahisha, lakini sasa sitaki. I want us to have a discussion together to ambiane serikali nafanya hivi. And that is what we are doing today. What I can tell the people of Mount Kenya, whether they solve their political disputes or not, whoever is in which position or in which party is not our concern as the people. In fact, after every election, no individual who is not a politician holding a political position should have a political party. Because after all, this political party is to run the interest of the party leader and its members. Sometimes even the members become puppets of the party leader. You know how ODM and UDA are being run. The members of parliament and the members of the party are puppets of the party leader. When the party leader says yes, you all say yes and stand up. When he says no,
so what does Mount Kenya need? Because you said they don't need a party now. So for Mount
Kenya, what we can do, one,
40 seconds.
Yes, I would like so much to have this as this thing of having a political party for the Kikuyus, for the Luos, for who. having their own party, because that is dividing us more than uniting us. My desired situation is that we end this game of believing that political parties are the only things that can represent us in parliament.
Sawa.
Sisi wote tupiganie an independent parliament which is non-partisan and that is representing the interest of wananchi, because the economy does not know any party.
Alright,
it doesn't know the ruling party or the opposition. Ikiharibika tunasafa sisi wote.
Kim, I want to finish like this. One question. We are seeing chances are high kuna venye President William Ruto is having a positive engagement with Raila Odinga. If that is at all true, should Mount Kenya be worried?
Of course we should be worried.
Does it mean moving on towards 2027?
The moment
if at all Ruto anaongea na Raila, does it mean Ruto does not need Mount Kenya come 2027?
First of all, ujue Raila wakishasikizana na Raila, Mount Kenya sijui kama kuna mahali tunaongea tusikike.
Hiyo imeenda hivyo.
Because Raila has always been powerful to agree to disagree.
Ni kitu iko. So Mount Kenya should be worried if Ruto is talking to Raila.
Mount Kenya must be worried. The moment Ruto wanaweza shikana na Raila ama Ruto ashikane tu na marafiki wa Raila na Raila anyamaze, Mount Kenya is done na tunasahau na politics.
Na hapo ndo tunamaliza hii conversation. KEYM Explains. Bro, I've loved it. Najua tumeongea sana. That is KEYM Explains. He's a content producer, big time activist, mambo ya politics and policy, youth and governance. He's big at it. Follow him on social media. Haiti, leo tumeongea story ya Ruto being a puppet to the United States. Is that actually true? We've also talked about Mount Kenya politics. We've talked about Haiti. We've talked about basically governance in our country, Kenya. Thank you so much, Kim.
Karibu sana.
Remember, guys, we are coming back with the Mjadala Koto Public Opinion. Leo, because it's a holiday, I want us to have a light one. Just easy vibes. Unajua saa zingine mapenzi can make you do crazy things. I personally, I have done some of the most regrettable things. Buda nimefanya vitu zingine, Kim. If I think of myself right now, Lord, if somebody recorded a video of me doing those things I did, you guys will laugh at me. Mambo ya mapenzi, it's crazy. Love, anyway, we'll see. I'll tell you. But swali hapa ni, has your partner, your girlfriend or your boyfriend ever made you do something crazy? Buda. Yani libidi sasa umevaa hadi umecross dress. Now you're trying to please your girlfriend. You guy umendoka with do yako yote kutoka kwa bank. You went and stole your mother's perfume as a girl, so that you can go and please your boyfriend on a date, so you can smell good. Mara, you went and bought your girlfriend an expensive car. For those of us who have money, what is the craziest thing you've ever done for the sake of love? And right now unasema, Lord, I was such an idiot. Tutongea maneno tukirudi right now. Keep it locked, don't move. I've got some DeVille mirrors.
Nobody can stop reggae. Morning vibes, where you are the MVP. No negative vibes.